So apparently people think that Anub'Arak is utter garbage and a terrible hero, but I think the opposite. I think he's a pretty cool dude who puts out a lot of damage and deals out a lot of CC. But apparently people just can't quite make him work. But apparently I can. I have a 72% win rate with him on hot slogs. And in Hero League I have 19 wins and 5 losses, not a bad record. And the problem I think people have is that they see this little thing right here, warrior. Anub'Arak in my mind is not a warrior, he is more of an assassin. So let's break down what he's good at and what he's not good at. He brings lots of mobility, tons of damage, tons of CC, crowd control that is, but he is not the tankiest dude out there. If you try and play like that, you're not going to have a good time. And the reasoning is, I think, because people build beetle build. Don't build beetle build, it's utter garbage. I mean, when you go onto the subreddit, you see people saying, hey, make the beetles less retarded. Well, if you're the fucking retarded, don't build beetle build. It's that simple, people. Come on, use your brain. Here's the build I use. We go Regen Master, we go Underking, Bed of Barbs, Locust Swarm, Burning Rage, Imposing Presence, and Hardened Shield. The Regen Master is very critical, allows him to stay alive longer in team fights. The Underking, it just makes it more often to use. Bed of Barbs is incredibly strong, adds more CC to your kit. Locust Swarm keeps you alive in team fights. Burning Rage keeps you doing tons of damage with the Locust Swarm. Imposing Presence gives you a little bit more tankiness in CC against the assassins, and Hardened Shield just makes you unkillable in the late game. And what ends up happening is that you end up doing so much AoE damage to the enemy team that they just can't keep up. And oftentimes at the end of a game, I have the most hero damage or am competing at the top for the most hero damage. So let's get into the games. In the early game, you want to essentially be collecting orbs and soaking Ling. Anub'Arak isn't exactly the strongest in the early game, and he won't be until you get a few of your key talents. And so you can see here with the new Azmodan, I'm just essentially helping him get some stacks and evading any ganks coming in and collecting globes. Moving into the next clip, we're able to get enough gems for a turn-in, and I'm able to capitalize on the bad Tychus and do some damage to him and keep the pressure on this top side. And because Tychus is bad, he gets hit by an Azmodan Q, sits on my Bed of Barbs, and also gets hit by the spider. This in turn allows me to make a move to go in and get a Q off, which sets up Azmodan for the finishing blow. Now right here we get into a team fight where we're both 10 and they're pushing in with their web weeders that they just got. I see a pick onto ETC and move in to try and get enough damage on the back line. Unfortunately, I am able to not sustain through the Malfurion ult and go down. Now right here is where everyone's going to be saying, oh, see, Anub'Arak's fucking terrible. He just goes in and dies. He's not a real tank. He's so bad. But you're not seeing part of the picture, and that I was the idiot here and not the champion. Down bottom, two of our heroes were clearing the spider, and I didn't see that and went in like an idiot. So that was not Anub'Arak being bad, that was just me being bad. And so now the enemy team gets a free fort in the middle, and while we do try to go in and clean up and get a kill, it's not really that worth. And that's because I was stupid. And now one important thing to note is that throughout the entire game you have to be collecting health globes. You constantly have to be doing this. And so right now I'm at 4, which means I have about 24 health regen a second, which is not something to scoff at. But moving in here, we see we get a pick onto Tychus. I immediately go into the backline, throw up my ult, and stun and damage as many people as I possibly can, immediately throwing 2 or 3 heroes out of the fight. Somehow miraculously Tychus gets out, but the main objective in team fights is to get on that backline, throw on your ults, and just damage the ever-living shit out of them, and also knock them up, do whatever possible CC you can. Typically you want something like a Malfurion or a Rhaegar with you to help keep you alive while you're in the backline. Brightwing isn't the best, but we're still able to make it work because we have 2 tanks and a fat-ass Azmodan. And so with the hero being dead and them being sent back to heal, we go immediately for the boss and are able to take it with no problem. We see a nice visual bug that still hasn't been fixed by Blizzard. Game comes out in 2 months. Get your shit together. But at this time, the enemy team is going to be turning in and getting a web weaver, but since we have the boss, we're able to clear out the mid and bot lane spider. But there's still one in the top lane left that we decide to go and push with. We immediately get our 16 level Talon, and I move in immediately onto the back line. Me and Diablo are absolutely shredding this. This allows our back line to deal damage uncontested, and there's just no real response to them. Tychus goes down, and I have my cooldowns back up to start chasing again, get on the Sylvanas and ETC, and chase them from any possible return damage. That's what's great about having Anub'Arak as a secondary support, is that he can deal damage and knock up people as well as another warrior. Now in this next part, we're able to get a web weaver turn in and push down the middle lane, but we're going to see the enemy team do a counter push with ETC's ult. I immediately stun him so he can't make any quick plays, and they still continue to push. The Odin is used, the Malfurion is used, and so we decide to pull off. We don't want to fight into that. There's no real reason to. We still have our ultimates up. And we just wait out the ultimates. Now that they're down, we're stalling time so that our bottom spider can deal damage. Seeing that they're all moving down there, I decide to bring everyone down there as well, see if we can get any sort of fight now that we have our ultimates and they don't. Unfortunately, the Merc camp got started, and the Sylvanas arrow immediately comes in, silencing me and Brightwing, but it's not quite at the right time. I immediately re-engage, get on the back line again. Diablo gets an incredible ult off on so many of them, and just so much damage gets put down in an AoE, essentially, that, yeah, I may die, but I kept them there for so long and dealt so much damage that Azmodan, who was out of the fight previously, is able to come in and dunk some fools. Kablooey. I like it too, Brightwing. Now, moving forward, we have a significant advantage, but our Azmodan gets caught out of position. I make the unfortunate call to move in, and this is where it all goes to hell. With Azmodan being gone, we don't have very much sustained damage and burst, so they're able to get healed up and heal through all of my damage. We get one kill on the backside, but Valley gets singled out by the Tychus, and not much else can come of that. Diablo goes down, unfortunately, and now the enemy team is back in the game. With them having a significant advantage, they push up, or not an advantage, but they get the web weavers back up on their side, and I see that they are trying to push the top side. Meanwhile, while this is happening, I decide to go to the mid lane to help clear the spider out of there and relieve some pressure during their top push. Unfortunately, while I'm doing this, our Diablo gets caught out like a damn fool and dies. But if you take a notice right there, every single ult was just used. There's not a single ult available on the enemy team. And so while they're able to get a kill on Diablo and push down our towers, they are hindered right now at a counter engage. And so while we fend off the attack onto our keep, we will lose it, of course, but this allows enough time for Azmodan to put out so much damage because it's late game Azmodan. The dude's a goddamn beast. And here you're going to see one giant Q hits like 4 people. Brightwing does go down, unfortunately, but I see this as an opportune time to go in. Odin is finally down. I immediately re-engage, get a spike off, stun Malfurion. This entire time, my Locust Swarm is just eating them alive. And we're able to just go in and clean up, and with Anub'Arak's insane mobility, I'm able to catch back up to Nzebo and get him with a long-range Q because I am a god. And because Anub'Arak is a god and Azmodan's a god, we're able to go in and continue to chase these bastards down. ETC, I'm sorry, buddy, but you gotta go down. I'm the superior warrior. And with that, we're able to push in, get the top keep, and get our lead back in our hands. Both top keeps are now down. Now at this point, they see that we're doing the Siege Giants in the bottom lane and could possibly get a pick off onto our team. I immediately moved down and decided to just force the engage as soon as possible so that they can't kill our heroes. I get in, get a nice stun on all of them, get some solid damage off. I get CC'd out a bit by the ETC, but am able to draw out their ultimates, and now Malfurion's ult is essentially gone, and Azmodan is still putting out tons of damage. I see that we have the significant health advantage and do what Anub'Arak does best and chase these guys down. A simple E in with a followed Q up stuns up Tychus along with Diablo, and they're forced to try and fight back, which allows Azmodan to just get off tons of damage. And one more E followed by Q thanks to Diablo. Get on the Sylvanas, and Azmodan doing Azmodan things. And so from here, it's pretty standard. Just keep chasing and killing and get the keep. And again, you can just see the absurd length of this fight that I'm able to get off 4 or 5 EQ combos to stun the team. And right there you can see Beta Barbs, why it's so good. It can slow down people even if you miss. And that allows us to move on to the core and win the game. And Diablo doing what Diablo does best. And so that is how I play Anub'Arak, like a balls out badass assassin who goes in, stuns people, deals damage, and straight up wrecks fools. If you want to see more tutorial videos or a full length game commentary, let me know.